chat about Freemasonry. I started this a little bit early, just to try something different. Normally I start right at 1 a.m. This time, 12:50 or so. By the way, tomorrow's stream is going to be a little bit shorter than the normal stream. Normally we do 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Um, or sorry, 1 p.m. to about 3 p.m. Today it's going to be, or yeah, today our 1 p.m. stream is going to be probably just 1 to 2. We won't go any further than that. But thank you everybody for joining. We'll just give it a few minutes. We'll see who joins. This is your chance to ask about Freemasonry. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral? I'd love to hear them. So let's give it a bit of time. Let's see who joins. Welcome, Dylan. Good morning to you. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here. What is new and exciting for you, Dylan? And by the way, I've said this a few times. I do have some exciting announcements coming up. So please make sure, Dylan, everybody, if you've not done so yet, take a few moments to go to info@squareandcompass.ca. Send me off a message just saying you're interested in joining the Square and Compass email distribution list. And now let's give it a few minutes. Let's see who joins. As always, please take a moment to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let me know how you're doing and anything that you guys want to talk about. Any questions, any thoughts, any comments, etc., etc. All of that stuff I'd love to hear. And I hope you'll forgive this clicking sound. Let me see if I can move this so it's not quite as clicky and annoying. Hopefully it's a little bit better. And we'll give it a bit of time. We'll see who joins. Any thoughts, again, on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral? I'd love to hear them. And thank you to everybody who's been here thus far. Let me just actually try to set this up a little bit better. There we go. Let's see if the typical night owls are up. Welcome. This is Square and Compass Promotions. We talk about Freemasonry. So any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral, please let me know. Welcome, Ditch Slogger. With a name like that, you're definitely new. I think I remember you otherwise. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry, anything you want to talk about. Please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. And yeah, welcome. Thank you for being here. I do these streams regularly, 1 a.m. and 1 p.m., Monday through Friday, and then I have my interviews usually around 1. Sundays around 6 p.m. Eastern. Taunt, welcome. I don't know. Define woke. Freemasonry, it's a civic organization, a civil organization, or even a social club. Pick your term. I prefer to use the term social club that evolved from the stone masonry guilds of medieval Europe. New Zealand, welcome, Jen Xanadu. Thank you for being here. Please hit that like and subscribe button. I would truly appreciate it. Let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry. There's actually a lot of Masonic lodges, to my understanding, in New Zealand. Never had the chance to visit, but I would love to one day. Favorite NFL team? Probably the Vikings, just because I grew up close to Minnesota, but I'm a CFL fan myself, so go Blue Bombers. Yeah, Ditch Slogger. I'm not sure where you're from, however, there's probably some Freemasonry located within your neck of the woods. I mean, what is the most beautiful part of New Zealand, you would say? I know there's been a lot of movies filmed there, right? I think Lord of the Rings was filmed there, if I recall correctly. So the ugliest place? I don't like to think in those terms, Tante. Why would I be mean like that? Every place had its own beauty and its own charm. It's just like Masonic buildings and Masonic temples. Every Masonic building and Masonic temple has its own charm. So I'm not going to say that. I'll say some of those beautiful places I've been, the Philadelphia Masonic Temple, um, um, Dearborn, Michigan Masonic Building. So many. I mean, at this point, it makes it even hard for me to think of them all now. Windsor, Glenview, Chicago, Paducah. Welcome back, Lex and Amida. Never Google Freemasonry, Ditch Slogger. Unfortunately, our friends, the conspiracy theorists, have had a field day. I've been a Freemason since 2007, so about 20 years. You can't necessarily, you should always take anything online with a grain of salt. But I like to think that I've got some pretty decent experiences with Freemasonry, and I hope that you will at least ask me some questions before you go with what's on Google. Good for you, Canyon. Phantom Mud Wrestle one president? Well, Lincoln was famously a huge fan of wrestling, so maybe Lincoln. Who knows? Just because he loved wrestling, so they say. So they tell us, anyways. Welcome, Spirit. Yes, I know the feeling, but thank you for being here. I hope you'll get some sleep soon. I appreciate you jumping on for a few minutes. And so many of those are Masonic structures. Welcome back, Reverse Image. Please let me know how you're doing. Thank you for joining once again. Well, maybe later. Having said that, Canyon, I hope you'll hit the like and subscribe for now. I'd very much appreciate it. Let me actually... I have no idea what you mean, Brasilia. But thank you for being here nonetheless. Let me ask you guys a question. Are you receiving square and compass emails? If no, sign up through info@squareandcompass.ca. Kingfisher not afraid. Which order? There's not, I mean, when you say order, there's not really orders in Freemasonry per se. I mean, I'm a Master Mason. I'm with Scottish Rite. Many Masons choose not to join either a pendant body of Scottish or York Rite. So when you say order, it's better to think about it as Blue Lodge and then appendant bodies. Welcome back, Tedward Evans. Well, I mean, no, because we're all online here, so nothing, Blunts. So no, I'm not going to share a secret. What I will say is the ultimate truth about Freemasonry is not a secret at all. It's about making the world a better place. So we have one person who said no. Whoever said no, email me, info@squareandcompass.ca, and then you can say yes instead, because there is some exciting things coming up. I want to make sure you guys are aware of them. Welcome, though. Thank you for being here. Please take a moment. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Theophilus, thank you for being back here. Once again, I hope that you're doing well. Let me know how you're doing and anything you want to talk about. There's a lot of Freemasonry in Mexico. Freemasonry has a really wonderful history within Mexico, Francisco. So yes, I actually just did a podcast episode about Freemasonry in Mexico. So you absolutely can be. Well, so every Scottish Rite member is a Freemason. Scottish Rite is an appendant body. So you join Freemasonry first. You join what's called your Blue Lodge. which usually encompasses entered apprentice, fellow craft, and master mason. Um, and then from there, you can join Scottish Rite, where you learn more about the craft. It's kind of like a specialty. It's a chance for like further learning about what Freemasonry is, as well as some additional opportunities for charitable efforts and social efforts. So yeah, that is the difference. They are like again, I'm Scottish Rite. I had to be a Freemason and part of the Blue Lodge first to then join the Masonic Scottish Rite, or you could join the York Rite. These are just different specialties within the craft. Um, if that makes any sense at all. A lot of people, I think, sometimes get them confused and think they're unique bodies. Again, one is a pendant from the other. Theophilus is an Shriners is another pendant body. It's like it's very similar to Scottish Rite in that it's another pendant body. It has kind of a different purpose. It's more focused on um, um, kind of charitable efforts and social functions. Eastern Star is for male and for men and women, but yes, AD. Order of Eastern Star is part of the Masonic family. So it's a very important part of the craft. Whenever people always say, Freemasonry is exclusively for men, I always point out Eastern Star, Rainbow, and Order of Women Freemasons. Jan, welcome back. Thank you for being here. I did not. Let me look that up now. Luminary. I talk about Freemasonry. I've been a Freemason since 2007. So, uh, So the star that is used for the Ordovician star is separate from the Star of Bethlehem, which I thought it was. But welcome, Luminary Lounge. Thank you for being here. And I hope everybody watching this right now, we got 6 votes. No one is signed up for my emails apparently. So please, info@squareandcompass.ca. Sign up for my emails. I would very, very much appreciate it. No, Rohit, I have not. But nonetheless, I appreciate you being here. Please hit the like and the subscribe button. We're going to bit of time. We're going to see who joins. I do these streams 1 p.m. and 1 a.m. So, and the 1 a.m. streams, I don't really have any specific topics. Rather, I just wait to see who wants to jump on and say hello. And anything that they want to discuss regarding Freemasonry, please let me know. Well, I thank you, but I like to think of myself as a very handsome man, so I don't need to switch. I'm already very attractive. Um, you can travel to any lodge. That's one of the greatest parts about Freemasonry, AD. When you're a Freemason somewhere, you're a Freemason everywhere. All right, John, time to put you in the timeout. Um, that's the beautiful thing about Freemasonry, honestly, AD. When you think about it, it's why Freemasonry is such incredibly good value. You can actually, you're joining a Masonic lodge in Windsor, and I can travel anywhere in the world and have traveled anywhere in the world to take part in Masonic meetings, whether it be in the Philippines, Brazil, throughout Ontario, Canada, the States. Um, but I don't know if the points are legit or just a coincidence. Um, Oh, I know that. I know Washington. I think I know the lodge you're referring to. I have some good friends who are Masons out of Washington. I hope that you will hit the, AD. I hope that you'll give a knock on the door. Washington State is an awesome state, and it's got some really cool Masons there. So, most worship brother Cameron Bailey from Washington, and University Lodge is actually located therein as well. So, that's really, really cool, AD. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing that. Like I said, I know several brethren from Washington State, so nothing but respect to all of them. Um, and yeah, great group of guys. Just knock once. They might be busy. You can always, again, they might not be in, but you can always even just write a letter and leave it in the mail slot for them, just so they know that you're interested in joining with your contact information. That might be the best way to do it. Because you never know if you show up there and they're busy, they may not have time to speak to you. It's better to kind of set up a meeting time in advance, but that should never stop you from knocking on the door and expressing an interest. Darth, good for you. Though I've pooped in some pretty interesting places myself, so I don't want to make this a competition or nothing, just for the record, but maybe we both have had some interesting experiences. He was, at least so it is believed. If I recall correctly, um, he, yeah, I don't believe that he was ever a regular Mason. He was an irregular Mason, which just means he was finding a lot of organizations and Masonic lodges that were kind of outside of Freemasonry, but still took advantage of Masonic symbolism, like the OTO. I mean, every lodge will have a register of past members. It's up to the lodge itself if it wants to share that information, but you can certainly ask. Every lodge should have a record somewhere of all of its members, um, from the time you ask to its founding. Ours is usually signed on the first page of the bylaws. So thank you. Happy Thursday to you as well, Daniel Barry. Actually, technically, it's Friday for me. It's 1 in the morning. I don't know what time it is for you, but for me, it is 1 a.m. So, welcome, though. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. I hope you will hit that like and subscribe button. I am, and if you already subscribed, hit the like button. Well, I'm a third degree Master Mason. That's the most important degree. That's the highest you can get. I'm also 18th degree Scottish Rite. But when you think about degrees, people place a little bit more emphasis on it than they should. You need to be careful with that, right? That's kind of not what it's all about. Sometimes people get it a little bit messed up as to what Freemasonry is truly about, and sometimes when they focus on degrees, they don't focus enough on the learning aspect of it. You can learn a lot in any degree and be active in any degree. But in the Blue Lodge, it's the Master Mason degree. That's what matters. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. Please take a moment, AD, to hit the like and subscribe button. I would truly appreciate it. Welcome. Yes, Spirit is second degree fellowcraft. And again, there's this idea, certainly, I encourage you to get your third degree. It provides a much more fulsome Masonic experience, but there's still much you can contribute as a second degree. We are not pagan, Gabe. Welcome, though. Thank you for being here. Why do you believe that we are pagan? I'd love to know what your thoughts are. And by the way, we got 13 votes. We got one yes vote and 12 no votes. So what are you guys doing with your lives? Contact me, info@squareandcompass.ca, info@squareandcompass.ca, and sign up to be part of my email list. King James, Freemasonry is also not satanic. It is neither satanic nor pagan. Having said that, it's wonderful to have you join. Let me know where your thoughts are. Well, so Freemasons don't worship Satan. A lot of that came from a few different hoaxes. Leo Taxil hoax was a big one. Um, that was probably the major one. And then the Catholic Church had some negative views about Freemasonry, and some Catholics took that and ran with it, and then just assumed we were worshiping Satan. Freemasonry does not worship any being, God, deity, Satan, or otherwise. Rather, each Freemason is expected to believe in a supreme being, but that supreme being is up to him. There is no one thing that Freemasons worship. So we have Muslim, Jewish, Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, Indigenous, First Nations membership. Well, the Catholic Church doesn't like us, ironically enough, King James, but welcome, King James. Thank you for being here. It's funny you say that, since the Catholic Church is actually negative towards Freemasonry. I was hoping that would change with Pope Leo the 13th. We shall see. I'm kind of keeping my fingers crossed that it does. Um, so, yeah. Because the current Pope, Pope Leo the 13th, was born in 1955 in Chicago, at a time when Freemasonry was very ubiquitous as compared to today, especially in Chicago. So I think it might be kind of cool to learn more about. I thought we might have some opportunities to get some new views on Freemasonry, but so far that does not seem to be the case. Well, I don't think anybody should throw shade at anybody. Well, Gorgum, that's awesome. To be one, ask one. Find yourself a Masonic lodge within your area. Um, I agree, Spirit. It's funny that we always have to take the hits um, of trolls. I mean, I would say 99% of Masons aren't Luciferian. I know there's a couple who have, I've been told there's a couple who are Luciferian, and I've never met any Luciferian Masons myself. Trevor, I want to grow my hair out. I'm just too lazy to do it because it ends up looking ugly. But thank you for being here. Trevor, I hope that you're doing well. I hope you'll hit the like and subscribe button. And thank you for joining us. Let me know if you have any thoughts, again, on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral. I'd love to hear them. And thank you, as always, for joining. Um, I'll take it. I've got everything from Matt Damon to Shrek to Glenn Jacobs to Brock Lesnar to everything in between. So honestly, that's not so bad. Jump Far, welcome. I love Brazil as well, Andre. I've been to Brazil. It's incredible. Andre, Jump Far, please hit the like and subscribe button. That's what it is, Ditch Slogger. That's what it is. I don't think most are Satanists. It's not really good to think of Freemasonry in terms of rank, Trevor, but I am a Master Mason and a worshipful master of my lodge. Border Cities Lodge number 554. AD, what is the connections between Freemasons and Knights Templar? That's a really good question. Freemasonry was founded many years after the Knights Templar, a couple hundred years after at the earliest. But when developing its appendant bodies and its rites, the Freemasons drew upon historical accounts and stories of the Knights Templar as a way to create its own concordant bodies. So a way to think about it is you had the Knights Templar that existed in, the very early Middle Ages, from about the 11th century to 13th. Freemasonry came about a couple hundred to 300 years after that, let's say 1717. And then when developing bodies and rituals within Freemasonry, looked back at stories and legends about the Knights Templar as a way to kind of develop moral lessons about service, especially about service. So there's no direct connection, rather it's an indirect connection. I hope that made sense. George Washington was a Freemason. He was very active as a Freemason and the first president of the United States. He joined a Masonic Lodge in Virginia, if I recall correctly. Um, my rank is black belt. There you go. My rank is worshipful master of the lodge, which is really not a rank; it's an office. But um, that's unfortunate, Gorgum. But Freemasonry is not satanic. I'm glad that you understand that, and I hope that you are able to join a lodge in Indonesia. And we do not do that, Trevor, despite what some conspiracy theorists online may say. I guess what I can say is like and subscribe to my podcast, and you'll learn the truth about Freemasonry. I mean, there's no direct connections between martial arts and Freemasonry. Indirect, I think they both very often are meant to kind of fulfill the same purpose with an individual, which is to find a sense of belonging. Whether he finds that sense of belonging within a dojo or within a Masonic lodge, either's awesome. There are certain skills you learn in both that can be valuable: self-control, discipline, even breathing, whether it's breathing in terms of performing a Masonic piece of ritual or memorization or reciting it, or actually the breathing necessary to train in martial arts. But I mean, there's just been many famous martial artists who are Freemasons, I'm sure. I don't know any off the top of my head. But to my knowledge, there's no direct connection. It's more trying to fulfill the same desires within humans and certain similar philosophic ideas. The Caddy, welcome. Thank you for being here. I've heard of him. Didn't he knock Freemasonry or say a bunch of negative stuff about it? That name sounds really familiar, but I can't place it right now. Um, well, Trevor, you need to be careful. Just because something is recorded doesn't mean it's accurate, right? There's a lot of clandestine lodges out there. And that's one thing I always warn people about, right? Within Freemasonry, you don't know necessarily, or sorry, if you're not a Freemason and you see something recorded, you don't know if what's being recorded is legitimate or not. It could be a clandestine lodge because there's nothing stopping me from starting Cameron's Masonic Order, creating my own rituals out of thin air, and then passing them off as Masonic. You need to be careful about that. I've never been to Bohemian Grove in my 20 years, nor do I know any Masons who have been, nor do I know any Masons who's ever taken part in any blood rituals. So I guess you can take that for whatever it's worth. Um, you don't seem like you've looked into the conspiracy. I mean, I've looked into some of them, not all of them. I tend to rely upon my experiences within Freemasonry and my 20 plus years for my knowledge of it. Um, though it wouldn't hurt to be more conversant in what the people are saying. Um, Southeast Asia has a well, not very, but a fairly significant Masonic population. In the Philippines, it's actually a very significant Masonic population. Freemasonry in the Philippines is very popular and very extensive. Jose Rizal, Rezal, was a Freemason famously. Um, what of Manly P. Hall? What of them, the Caddy 84? You need to be a little bit more specific. Morals and Dogma is fast becoming my least favorite book because every non-Mason asks about it, and it's grossly misunderstood. I don't know enough about Scientology to say, Trevor. I know that you could probably be a Scientologist and be a Freemason because, to my knowledge, Scientologists believe in a supreme being. However, I've never taken part in any Scientologist retreats. I'm not a Scientologist myself. From what I've learned, it doesn't seem very similar to me, but except they're both kind of clubs in a sense. But to my knowledge, Scientology is a religion, um, whereas Freemasonry is not. I don't consider France clandestine. Trevor, to ditch Slogger, no worries, but thank you for being here. To be one, ask one, Trevor. So you need to find a Masonic lodge that is within your area or close to you and get in touch with them. You can write them a letter, which is how I did, express an interest in joining, and you go from there. Um, Many things are based on Freemasonry, Stephen. The Future Farmers of America is based on Freemasonry. So Um, so yeah, I mean, again, I will never knock anybody's faith, whether it's Scientology or anything else. I will just say, for me personally, I believe in a supreme being, but I'm somewhat wary of religions. Well, I'm trying not to promote it exactly. I'm trying to rather promote the ways it's relevant to the communities in which it's located because I love it. I like to talk about it and I think it's important. But no one has to join. And I certainly am not trying to promote anybody joining. Rather, it's me promoting the ways it's relevant and providing information. It's a bit like me if I was coming on and talking about scary movies. Because that's something else I love. I don't, I'm not telling other people they have to like scary movies or promoting people watching them. I'm just talking about something I like and why I like it. And if in the process it encourages other people to check it out, all the better. Um, William Dunn. I mean, it's not so much that Masons believe that there are philosophical stories Masons tell, the purpose of which being to impart lessons. It's more about imparting a lesson as opposed to belief, right? You need to be careful about that because every Freemason has a different set of beliefs, but they derive certain lessons. Welcome, William. Thank you for being here. Please hit like and subscribe. Um, it is different. Luciferianism and Satanism is a different thing. That is one of the things that people mess up when they're reading Albert Pike famously. Um, Rotary is not part of Masonry. Rotary is a different civic club. Um, I don't know what your comment was, Trevor. I get many comments here, buddy. I got to go back through them now. Nah, sure. I mean, the term master builder. I mean, I've heard it within Masonic context, but I mean, I would take that as a coincidence because I mean, you would use the term master mason more than master builder. That's for sure. Um, right, and the idea of, I mean, I've heard master builder in non-Masonic context very often, right? Like, we're not just master craftsman, master whatever it might be, um, superintendent. No, the term master builder is fine. I mean, there's a lot of Masonic terms that have made their way into day-to-day parlance. I would say master builder predates Freemasonry as a term, and Freemasonry kind of adopted it, but getting blackballed, meeting on the level, being on the square, square conduct, all that stuff, all of those are Masonic terms that made their way into day-to-day parlance. Have you ever heard the term somebody being blackballed? Right, that is a Masonic term that made its way into daily life. And I've actually heard Trump use the term blackballed in the past. So my dad is a Freemason, as are my grandparents. Um, I mean, sure. To my knowledge, neither Charlie Kirk nor President Trump are Freemasons. In fact, I saw a clip where Charlie Kirk was asked about Freemasonry, and he said he looked into it. He did not know much about it, but he would keep an open mind. So you take that for what it's worth. Gernhardt, it is 1:24 in the morning. It does run in the family, Stephen. I'm proud of that. It doesn't have to, though. People need to understand and remember that you don't need to have any Masonic family to be a Freemason. So please keep that in mind. William Dunn, I'm nearly positive he is not. I think your sources are incorrect. Um, we don't recruit anybody, right? We do not recruit anybody. And Freemasonry is welcome to men of all different faiths, ethnicities, races, religions, ages, employment, but we don't recruit. Um, well, good, Gernhardt. That's very kind of you. I appreciate it very much. And I hope you'll hit the like button. And I hope also you'll sign up for my email blasts, info@squareandcompass.ca. Um, Sometimes, Gorgum, I think that's more a common thing. You know, it's funny. In the 17th and 18th centuries, Freemasonry was actually considered a left-wing group, even though it's not political. It was considered a left-wing group. Then it became considered a right-wing group um, in the 1950s and 60s. And then recently, it's been just assigned kind of these weird supernatural ideas. Thank you, Jump Far. Appreciate that very much. You should start getting some soon. If you just send me an email at info@scoreandcompass.ca, once I see your email, I'll have your email address and I will um, respond. But thank you so much. I mean, Trevor, I give money every year. Sadly, I wish it was free. I have my dues, so every year I pay dues. It can be. I'm a member of five Masonic lodges, so my dues are as little as $40 per year to as much as 150 per year. So it works out to an average of about $400 American per year. If you're a member of one Masonic lodge, which most people are, your dues are between $100 and $200 per year. Well, no, it's a membership. I mean, it would be a Ponzi scheme if people told me I would get rich or famous for giving them money, which they do not. Rather, what they tell me is the dues go to pay for the building and the expenses associated with the Masonic Lodge. Like whenever I go to a meeting, once the meeting is done, we have dinner, we have drinks. I don't pay for the dinner, I don't pay for the drinks, non-alcoholic, the lodge pays for the refreshments. The building itself, where I meet, the Masonic building, I don't, pay an admission fee to enter it. My dues cover the costs of running and maintaining the building. The heat in winter when it gets cold, the cooling in summer, the landscaping, repairs, property taxes. Things cost money, no different than churches, even though Freemasonry is not a religion. No different than paying money to be part of a baseball team, right? If you're part of a baseball team, you have to pay a fee to be part of the team, and that fee covers your equipment costs as well as using the field. Um, you can't get rich or famous by being a Freemason, John. If anybody's joining Freemasonry with the goal of being rich or famous, you are going to be sorely disappointed. Um, so keep that in mind very much. Explain the all-seeing eye. Well, Trevor, I don't think you're going to believe me, but I'll tell you nonetheless. The all-seeing eye, it's not actually called that. It's called the Eye of Providence. It's a symbol that predates Freemasonry by actually thousands of years. The Egyptians had it, the Chinese had it, for that matter. Um, it was put on the dollar bill by a designer who was not a Freemason himself. Ben Franklin was involved in it, but the actual person who designed the dollar bill was not a Freemason. And the all-seeing eye is simply a symbol that is not connected exclusively to Freemasonry, nor is it a Masonic all-seeing eye. It's the Eye of Providence. It's meant to remind us of good conduct for everybody, Mason or non-Mason. Not, I mean, some may lose pain, but very few to my knowledge, if any. What you do see sometimes is abandoned churches becoming Masonic buildings. That can be a fairly common thing if the church had to move to a new location, um, but not in that way. Well, what are some of these symbols, John? Because I keep seeing people say if I cover my eye, it's a Masonic symbol, which it's not. But I mean, there you go. Like that's one that keeps popping up. I don't really know where it comes from or why people think that it's a Masonic symbol or what the kind of connection is with this and Lady Gaga. Because people keep telling me Lady Gaga is a Mason, which there's a lot of issues with that statement, but because she did this symbol on one of her CD covers, I don't get it myself. Um, No, no, you can't. I mean, you could maybe request dispensation if there was a special event happening with Scottish Rite, and you could maybe request dispensation. But as a rule, no, no, you couldn't. Um, well, I guess what I have to say, Trevor, this whole idea of ranks and low rank versus high rank. Another way that people describe it, Trevor, is inner circle versus outer circle. So I've been a Mason since 2007. Not a crazy long time, but about 20 years. In that time, I've attended over 1,000 Masonic events and meetings, um, because it's usually about 4 times per week. And not only have I attended them over, 1,000 of these events, but I've attended them around the world. I've visited Masonic lodges throughout Canada, throughout the United States, Mexico. I've attended lodges in the Philippines, England, and Brazil. And in many of these cases, I've not announced my plans to attend, I've simply shown up. Sometimes I give them a heads up, hey, I'm traveling, I'll be there. Sometimes I just happen to be in a town traveling for work, whatever it might be, back in the day, especially for work. Come across a Masonic building, knock on the door. If they were hiding things from me, I could understand them being able to hide the truth from me for a year, 2 years, 3 years. But at a certain point, if it's been 20 years, if I'm going to lodges unannounced, if I'm traveling around the world and I'm not seeing any signs of anything demonic, if I'm sitting in lodge with 33rd degrees, which you seem to think are the highest ranking, and I'm not seeing anything, at what point, to believe that they're capable of hiding it from me for that long, either you think I'm very foolish and stupid, which is possible, or they're actually not hiding anything, and Freemasonry is what it seems. When you say you are the highest ranking Masons, even when you love something, Stephen, that's what you focus on. So when you say who are the highest ranking Masons, Trevor, again, I think that kind of demonstrates a misunderstanding of what Freemasonry is. The highest ranking Freemason are third degree Master Masons. Um, it is the third degree. Now, a lot of people will say, especially if they've not been part of Freemasonry, the highest rank is 33rd. A 33rd degree Mason, it's an honorific title, but it's not the highest rank. And I'll give you this example, Trevor. Recently at my Blue Lodge meeting, we had 8 members show up for this meeting, one of whom was a 33rd degree Master Mason. The rest were not. The rest were Master Masons, and in one case, an entered apprentice, a first degree Mason. We had a vote in the lodge about a motion. The 33rd degree Mason voted one way. The remaining 7 voted a different way, and the 33rd degree Mason lost the vote. Even though he's 33rd, it did not change the fact that he was outvoted. So he did not have any power or any capability or any rank that mattered in the lodge in that moment. It's an honorific title. It indicates he's been around Freemasonry for a while. But at the end of the day, it doesn't give him any extra power or any more power than anything else. Yes, John, you would be very disappointed if you joined and you found out the biggest conspiracy is whether we have ribs or pizza for dinner. But I hope at least I've given you my perspective and it's made sense. If not, then that's okay. I still appreciate you being here. Um, Freemasonry is not really a stepping stone to other clubs, although I like that wordplay, the idea of a stone. I mean, you could join appendant bodies through Freemasonry and even the shrine, but Ryan 777, welcome. Thank you for being here. Please hit like and subscribe. I think you're new to the stream. Anybody who's not part of my email blast, sign up at info@squareandcompass.ca. Just shoot me off an email and let me know you want to join, and I'll sign you up. What's the best day to go to the Freemasons Lounge? It's hard to say, Lewis, because I don't know what the schedule is at your area. Usually lodges will have a set meeting date and time, so, they may meet the first and third Monday of the month, for example. They may have coffee clubs or breakfasts open to the public or special events. Well, because I have special events as part of my stream. I have promotions for my Patreon. I have giveaways sometimes. Like, so this is my personal thing, is running those promotions. I'm not associated with any particular Masonic group or body. So it gives me the freedom to talk about things I want to talk about and not like, so for example, if somebody asks me about politics, I can answer and people understand I'm speaking for myself. But I want to let you guys know what I and Square and Compass am doing, the Masonic events I'm attending, the special streams I'm holding, my Patreon, so you can support this channel and help me try to turn Freemasonry from a social club into something I can do full time. Um, yeah, no Louis Payne, but I want to go there. I've been to a couple Masonic events in California and I loved it. We wear aprons. We wear aprons and collars. If I'm a worshipful master, I'll wear a collar as well. Um, so yeah, it all depends. But thank you. And the more fancy pants you get, for example, if you become a district deputy grand master, which is a office within a district that reports to grand lodges, you have even fancier garbs. How did George Washington find? How did he find out? So what is a worshipful master? Worshipful master is basically like a CEO of a Masonic lodge. He's responsible for administering the lodges, making sure lodges run properly, meetings are held. He has a gavel to, deal with business. He doesn't actually get to lead the lodge precisely. The lodge is a democracy. So even if the worship master has one opinion about how things should be within Freemasonry and the lodge can vote a different way. But he's responsible for making sure the lodge is running appropriately and following all rules as set out by the Grand Lodge and the bylaws. Actually, that's a good question, Trevor. I don't even know how George Washington found out about Freemasonry. I know he was a Freemason in Virginia, and Freemasonry was relatively common amongst the aristocratic and Enlightenment class in George Washington's day. I've always said there's two great Enlightenment era experiments, Freemasonry and America. He was actually, it's interesting, he was actually one of the most active, he was one of the most active Freemasons while he was the president. Probably the only one who was more so was actually Harry Truman. But how he found out about it, I'm actually not sure who told him about it first. It was Fredericksburg, Virginia. He became a Freemason in 1752, if I recall correctly. When you say Louis, I assume in criminal record? No. I mean, it depends on the lodge and the jurisdiction. My advice to people is always, always going to be, if you have any concerns, if you have a criminal record, don't let that stop you from applying. Advise them right away you have a criminal record and what the nature of the offenses are, and let them know what you've done to try to make amends, pay your debt, grow, change, and you kind of go from there. Um, well, it's black and white balls, hence blackballed is the term that you so often hear. Um, well, I mean, if it's not on a criminal record, I guess they'd have no way of knowing unless they had some, I don't know, unless they happen to know about the situation somehow. I don't know how they would. But if the charges were dropped, I mean, they'd have no way of knowing, I suppose. But I mean, I still think honesty is always the best policy, and it's better to just come clean with everything. But that's my own opinion. Well, I think it was, and then it wasn't Spirit. If I recall correctly, it was recognized until the war or the revolution, and then it was clandestine for a time. I always, um, I always remind people though when they start knocking clandestine Masonic lodges, George Washington was a clandestine Mason once upon a time. So don't knock it too heavily. Neuro, I mean, I guess it'd be up to the individual applying. I would say who knows who's in the Masonic Lodge, who may know about the charges. Maybe somebody who works in the courthouse, even as a janitor, works in the courthouse and saw you in court or something. I don't know. I can understand not wanting to, and if the charges were dropped, they were dropped, but I say always err on the side of giving more info than giving less for whatever it's worth. The earth is not flat, John. The earth is not flat. I got to disagree with you on that one as well. But there you, nonetheless, welcome. It's great to have you here. I once again, I'm going to say you are incorrect. Um, but you're recognized as a Square and Compass fan, an audience member, and a friend. So I hope that works for you. Why won't they let, I mean, why would they? I don't know who they are, but if I was a government entity and had some type of access to Antarctica, I wouldn't let you in there. It seems like there's nothing there to do but die. There's no food, there's no farmable land, there's giant ice caverns. What would be the possible benefit of being there? However, having said that, they let Mr. Beast go to Antarctica. So if they let Mr. Beast go to Antarctica, they can, I'm sure they'll let you if you have the money to do it. NRRY, Brad Pitt, he's called me. Thank you, or she's calling me. I don't know who you are, NR, but that is incredibly kind of you because most people call me ugly on these streams. They say I have a big nose and ugly teeth. So I appreciate you being so nice to me. Please hit like and subscribe in honor of Brad Pitt. Well, I assure you we did not, because I had no idea that COVID was coming. If I did know COVID was coming, I would have made a few different decisions in my life. I will say this is a pro-vaccine stream. Everybody should get vaccinated. I got myself vaccinated, and I was very happy and proud to have done so. Well, I will not say going to say whether there are or not, whether there are or are not pass scripts. For that, AD, you got to join, and then you'll find out. Um, well, maybe we all have the same eyes. Who knows? Welcome, James, though. Thank you for being here. Um, we could have Winter X Games year round in Antarctica. Um, no, no, I've never heard of any Masonic Lodge checking vaccination records, and I would say nor should they. I think that'd be a bridge too far, but I will always say people should be vaccinated. I encourage people to get vaccinated. I'm a big believer in vaccinations. Um, but um, yeah, no, that's I've never heard of a single lodge requesting vaccine information before you join, and I think that would be too much personally. Um, well, I mean, it's interesting when you say that, Trevor, just like George Washington. I mean, the idea of a vaccination is not new. It was understood in George Washington's time. It wasn't called vaccinations, it was inoculations, right? So, for example, what they would do is this is, I'm trying to think of where I read this, but they would, for example, take the scabs from smallpox infected people and like rub it on themselves as a way, or kids as a way to give them a dosage of the disease and to inoculate them with it. It was not nearly as effective and far more dangerous than what we have nowadays. But the idea of immunity and inoculations was understood, to a certain extent, even in George Washington's time, just much less so than obviously later. I don't even think germs were understood until much later, but there was some idea of like immunity and inoculation, even in George Washington's time. I like to think I'm intelligent. I'm so intelligent, I get myself vaccinated. To me, a vaccination is a sign of intelligence. We got somebody from Alabama. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Please hit the like and subscribe button. It's wonderful to have some Alabama folks in the house. Or no, Albania. Never mind. JG, it's welcome to have some people from Albania in. Well, even herd immunity. Like one thing that was very common in an example of germ warfare in ancient Greece, if somebody had the plague, they would actually either put their bodies in the water source of a town they were sieging in order to infect the water, or they would actually shoot with a catapult the dead bodies over the walls of the town, um, or like get them into the town as a way to spread disease. So they understood disease on some level. Um, well, then flick the ant. Who knows what's going to happen to me because I've got all my vaccines and I always support it. I mean, I have no legs, but in fairness, I had the no legs before I was vaccinated. So I didn't lose them because of COVID shots. Um, well, I mean, my first vaccine was, I'm 42 years old now. I got vaccinated as a kid, so I'm well past the 10-year mark. Um, no, Sam White, you should hit the like and subscribe button. I do not have any legs. I was born missing my legs. So I'm not missing them. It's rather I just never had them. Um, you wipe however you want to, Sam, but first hit like and subscribe. No, it's fine. If I could go back, if somebody came to me and offered me and said you can have, legs if you want, I would say no. I like me, and that includes the me with no legs. So, I guess what I'd say is, like I said, I like the me I am. Well, Flick, you can still hit the like and subscribe button, but as someone who is, and when I say vaccinated, obviously COVID, flu, but when I travel, like hepatitis A and B vaccines as well. I follow my doctor's advice. You don't tell the doctor tells you. I agree with Gorgum on this one. I mean, look, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to say whether herd immunity does or doesn't work or anything like that. I'm just saying, why rely on that when we have vaccines? To everybody here, right now there's 33 votes. The vast majority of people are not subscribed to get emails from me or signed up or receiving. Email me at info@scoringcompass.ca and you'll get emails from Scoring Compass Promotions. Um, well, thank you, James, for that. Yeah, I mean, I would not want to have been born missing my legs 100, 200, 300 years ago. But being born in 1983, living in 2025, honestly, I like my wheelchair. I like me with no legs. Um, Thank you, James. It's info@squareandcompass.ca. Um, well, you get them when you're a baby, I believe, but also if it's been long enough and you're traveling to a place where there's contaminated water or potential contaminated water, then you need to get them again, to my knowledge. What I did is I went to Shoppers Drug Mart and asked the pharmacist what vaccines are recommended if I'm traveling to the Philippines and Brazil. He suggested them. I checked with my doctor. My doctor gave me the prescription, and the rest is history. Um, well, I don't think I'm autistic, so I don't. That's interesting, Stephen. I had not heard that. It's funny you bring that up. I worked in a jail for 5 years, and I was a probation officer for 5 years, and I left the jail as an employee. I left the jail just before the COVID, like just before COVID hit, and just before the vaccinations and the lockdowns and all the rest of it. I heard that they were offering COVID shots to everybody, but not that they were paying anybody to take the COVID vaccines. At least in the jail that I used to work at. I could be wrong, but I never heard that. So, not autistic, but an idiot. Well, there you go. Many people think I'm an idiot. In fairness, um, I'm not blind either. I don't think. Okay, I mean, I don't know how I feel about that. To me, if they're going to pay one group of people to get it, they should pay everybody to get it. I do think getting a vaccine is a civic responsibility. and a civic duty. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of paying anybody to take medications because the potential th- I think paying somebody to take medications is a real potential for abuse. That's just my personal opinion. Like, I have my Shoppers Drug Mart Optimum points, right? Which are a great thing if you're in Canada to have. Thank you, Shoppers Drug Mart, for them. But one thing I noticed is when I'm getting my prescriptions filled, or even when I was getting the hepatitis A and B vaccines, I had to pay for them. I was not able to collect not even money. I was not even able to collect points from them that I could use to get, discounts on items. So it's one of those things where it's like, at first I wasn't a huge fan of that, but then I thought, yeah, there's too much potential for abuse if you get some type of monetary or special reward for getting vaccinated, right? So I can see concerns about that. Having said that, I do think, like I said, I do think it's a civic duty and a civic responsibility to get vaccinated. Um, Well, it depends which jail. I mean, I don't know which jail you're referring to, Stephen. I worked at Southwest Detention Center in Ontario. Different jails have different programs. I enjoyed, working there. I will say I have nothing but respect for correctional officers as well as for everybody who works in a jail, the custodial staff, the medical staff, the social workers, obviously the um, correctional officers. It's one of those things where when you talk about like what is a first responder, um, people often think fire, paramedic, and that's all true. They oftentimes forget about correctional officers or guards in a jail who are probably the most literal first responders you could be. If there's a medical emergency, if there's an attempt to harm oneself, whatever it is, they're responding to it before, like they're responding to it within seconds, if not in minutes. Um, or they're responding to it in minutes, if not in seconds. Um, Welcome, Ariel. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it very much. Yeah, I'm sure Indonesia has some real issues with overcrowding. Many jails do, even in North America. Ariel, please hit like and subscribe. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. Um, I mean, I'll never ever say, James, that any science is absolute. I think one thing that's beautiful is it's constantly being checked. You can only go by the best information you have at the time. Um, well, I did, John. I did work in a prison with no legs. I was a rehab officer, so my responsibility was helping guys when they were scheduled for release find housing and employment opportunities or food banks or whatever it is they needed to try to soften the blow. I also helped people get into our schools program, um, which I was really proud of. So, well, I mean, why would they not? I should pay for my membership as everybody else does. I would find it weird if they didn't take my money because it would mean they were treating me differently than other people. Now, there are times when they'll offer benevolence or assistance. They actually purchased my first tuxedo for me, which was very kind of them. I know brethren who would have been on the street were not for Freemasons stepping up and giving them rent money. So, yeah. Um, uh, But yeah, I've been to jail as a rehab officer. Nothing wrong with going to jail, Steven, so long as you've taken steps to not find yourself going back there. Everybody gets to make mistakes. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just about making it more than once, is where the issue comes. Welcome, Chili D's. Yes, honorary members also get exempt from fees. But sadly, you do not get to be an honorary member because you have no legs. Though it would be wonderful if you could. Because don't get me wrong, I don't like paying for things. I'd rather everything be free, but that's a whole other can of tuna. Oh my gosh, we're getting into subjects way outside of Freemasonry now, which is good. I'm happy to talk about some of this stuff. Bail is tricky. Like bail is really hard to say because if you're offering cash bail, you're basically making things legal for a price, right? So it's, I don't know. The whole bail system is screwy because it's like, God, I don't know. Like half the time, my job when I worked there was helping people make phone calls to try to find somebody who could bail them out. The problem is, though, like, okay, let's say you get into a bar fight with somebody, you go to jail. You have no bail. Now you're in jail until there's a court proceeding. If you're stuck in jail for long enough, suddenly your job is looking to fire you. Suddenly suddenly your apartment is looking to evict you. If you have pets, you might need to get to them to feed them. Like, without a bail system, you're encouraging people to plead guilty. You're incentivizing a guilty plea because it means people can potentially get out of jail quicker, even if they could potentially fight the charges and be found not guilty. They'll plead guilty because they know if they plead guilty, they can get a shorter sentence or get time served, get out, get to their job, get to where they need to go. Like, it's kind of the same reason I said I'm concerned about people getting paid for vaccines. I'm concerned about any program that incentivizes what should be a moral or fact finding thing, right? So when a system incentivizes the pleading of guilt to get out of jail sooner, um, that creates problems. Whereas if you have a bail system, you can post your bail, get out of jail, keep your job, keep your apartment, keep your relationships intact, and you're not under so much pressure to plead guilty for the sake of a quick release or an early release. Um, I'm not higher up in Freemasonry because I'm as high as I want to be, John. I'm busy. I'm a member of 5 Masonic lodges, John. What more do you want from me, man? How many lodges must I be a part of? How many worshipful masters? How many times must I sit in the East? How many meetings must I attend before it's good enough for you? My heavens, John, I'm busy. I'm busy. Helen Thomas, I I'm not a fan of him myself, that's for sure. Um, well, I think, John, it may be that I know more about it than you think, but rather what you know about it is inaccurate information. Um, right? Because I think I've explained things pretty well. Like, I don't know, for example, who first introduced George Washington to Freemasonry, but I know he was initiated in Fredericksburg, Virginia in 1750 or 1752. Um, um, I know my experiences. I know what it means to be a Freemason. I know what I know the false ideas about 33rd degrees or the specious reasoning. It seems that I just don't know the things that you believe to be the case. Um, I think Trump is a pretty crummy president myself. Not a fan of him at all, but to each their own. To each their own. Um, it's not really Captain Blackbird. I don't think it's good to think about in terms of levels. You can think about it in terms of 3 levels: entered apprentice, fellow craft, master, mason. The better way to think about it is in terms of degrees, though: first degree, second degree, third degree. Um, Operation Warp Speed, one of the few things I liked about Donald Trump. I did not vote for Kamala Harris because I'm Canadian. So I could not vote in the presidential elections one way or the other. I know many Freemasons who are Trump supporters. I know many who are not. I know many who voted for Kamala Harris. Here in Canada, I know many who are liberal, many who are conservative, many who are NDP. Um, I do believe voting is a civic duty. I always vote in our elections. I actually used to be pretty heavily involved in in politics back in the day. But keep in mind, Freemasonry is not a political organization. Um, Never stole from me. Actually, Trudeau was fairly helpful to me in some ways. Um, John, I think that's needlessly cynical about politics. I was proud to be part of politics. I was an intern in the office of the Prime Minister in 2009. At the time, Stephen Harper was the Prime Minister. So I was conservative for many years. Not so much anymore. I can show you some of my certificates from my conservative days. I actually got a few awards from them. Knocked on a lot of doors, gave a lot of money to the Conservative Party of Canada. I can tell you that. Freezing truckers' bank accounts. Well, I was never a big fan of the trucker convoy myself. So, and Stephen, even if that was the case, and I don't believe it to be the case, that seems kind of cruel to say those things about somebody. I would not want anybody on this stream to be, um, casting aspersions about someone's parentage or someone's mom or someone's dad. I think it's kind of cruel. I'm not a fan of the cruelty that's crept into politics, especially on the more right wing side of things. Um, Not to my knowledge, Theophilus. I don't believe he was a Freemason. Um, I mean, I don't know if everybody was or isn't, but I never heard or saw any evidence that he was. Um, sure, Trevor. I can't promise I'll answer a personal question, but you can ask whatever you want. How do Christians in your organization reconcile God's? So it's funny question. That's come up a few times in this stream. I'm not aware of where the prohibition against oaths is. My response is always, what about Christians who join the military, become a police officer? I had to take an oath when I was working for the jail, or oaths going to court, for example. So that's always been my response. My assumption is Christians are able to reconcile it the same way they would reconcile going to court and taking an oath to tell the truth, or joining the military, or joining the police and taking an oath to protect and serve. Um, so that would be my understanding of it. I mean, yes, Trevor. I don't know what the technical part of it is, but yeah, I can have a family. I have a cat right now. Maybe one day, who knows? The Hippocratic Oath, that's another example of it. So, um, I guess I've never I can't speak to the prohibition that people discuss, but my answer is always there's a million types of oaths that are taken within society that Christians take without issue. So I don't know why Freemasonry would be any different. There is not, Trevor. There probably is actually. I bet you any money there's a dating app for people with disabilities. I just don't know of any. Um, Belt. I am a Freemason. I see your picture. It's like a circle with a line through it. I can't see what the profile pic is. Is it a Freemason in your profile pic? Because it sounds like maybe you're, in that case, you might be anti-Freemason, but I don't know. But again, Stephen, like what would a Christian say when they were asked to take the Hippocratic oath? Um, no, no, not you, Trevor. The belt with the exclamation point. Well, politicians take an oath, yeah, when they become congressmen. I know in the States they have to take an oath. Oh, well, I can't see it well. For some reason, it's way too small on my phone. I'm kind of curious now, though. Um, by the way, Belt, thank you for being here. Please hit like and subscribe. The Freemasons said they don't like kids on scooters. I am a Freemason. I have no issue with kids on scooters. You be on scooters or be on skates, be on whatever you want to be on, I suppose. Um, Unless they got annoyed by like your your I don't know. I do not know to what you're referring, Belt. Okay, yeah, I can't see it well. I don't skateboard. I'm in a wheelchair, but I'm on wheels all the time. At least there's that. Um, It's funny, I met Pierre Poilievre a few times back in the day when I was involved in politics, but I voted for Mark Carney. One of the interesting things, though, well, I voted for my Liberal MP. Interesting thing, though, about politics, Trevor. A lot of people don't know this, but one of our rules within a Masonic lodge is we are not to discuss politics or religion while in a Masonic lodge, um, while it's operating. So I cannot have this. I cannot have this discussion within a Masonic lodge. I would be told not to. And I think that's good. I think there's so much political and religious discussions kind of in so much of our lives. I like the idea of not discussing it in our meetings. I think it's kind of a safe zone against politics, which has infiltrated so much of our lives. Well, if it was, we would discuss it, right? The fact we don't discuss it is because it's not. Um, Jerry LeBreton. Well, we don't have influence, Jerry. In some ways, I wish we did. I think Freemasonry actually has a lot of philosophies and ideas that would be incredibly beneficial from a political standpoint. However, I don't know off the top of my head of. Actually, that's right. I know of one Freemason who's a politician who's a city council member in a city, but that's the one I know of. So you kind of take that for what it's worth. I would say significantly less than 1% of our Masons are politicians, and our influence is pretty much non-existent, unfortunately. I would love to get robot legs. Trevor, the one way I can get robot legs is if you become a Patreon. So what you can also do, if you'd be so kind, is you become a Patreon. Patreon.com/square and compass. For as little as $3 a month, you could even get, where'd I put it now? You could even get one of these really cool commemorative postcards. So, well, then you can always join for free. You don't even have to pay anything. You can join for free, Trevor. Um, well, stonemasons are a little bit different, right? Um, Stonemasons are operative masons. I wish we as Freemasons knew more about how to build things out of stone, but that's a whole separate can of tuna. I would urge Masons to be organ donors. I'm an organ donor. I make sure to be one. I guess I've never heard it discussed in Lodge. We're encouraged to be blood donors. Actually, Freemasonry and blood donations has a very connected history to each other. Um, so if we're encouraged to be blood donors, I suppose, I think if you take Masonic philosophies at their core, it would encourage us to be both blood donors and organ donors. And I'm an organ donor myself. Um, oh, they know. Not everybody likes it, Trevor, but they know. A lot of people think Freemasonry should be more quiet, and people shouldn't be trying to use Freemasonry to earn income through YouTube and Patreon. Not everybody agrees with me, but that's okay. It's what keeps things interesting. Um, well, Gorgum, you can also, though, become a Patreon for free. Again, patreon.com/runcompass, or again, just like, subscribe, comment, share on social media. All this stuff helps out big time. If anybody takes my organs while I'm alive, I will be very annoyed by that. I can assure you, I will be very, very annoyed by that. Um, Honestly, like I said, I've known organ donors, and I when I pass away, I'm not going to need my organs anymore. So why not make sure they go to somebody who could use them? Is my philosophy. Obviously, they can't use my legs since I don't have any. But other than that, have at it. Because sometimes it happens, Trevor. There's no reason. Sometimes things just happen. My mom was after thalidomide, so she didn't take any thalidomide. It just, I forget what the percentage is, but a certain percentage of kids are born missing limbs. Um, well, then, John, let them take them while I'm still alive, I guess. Though, at least hopefully put me out first. I'd rather not feel it. Um, But I'm trusting that they're not going to be taken unless they're needed. Um, and unless I'm dead. I mean, by the same token, I could say I hope you experience what it's like to be, have my life, which is pretty great. So I don't feel like I'm missing anything, Trevor. I really don't. Having said that, that is very kind of you to say. And I do still hope, like I said, you will follow me on YouTube, Patreon, Medium, all these different spots. That's good of you, Stephen. Yeah, and I know a lot of people who do that. So a coworker of my dad's did that for a friend. Um, it's a great example of charity, Masonic charity. My dad, Belt. My dad inspired me to be a Freemason. I grew up around it. My dad and both my grandfathers were Freemasons. So I always kind of assumed I would join at some point. Um, and that was the inspiration. What inspired me to stay is I grew to love Freemasonry because it gave me the opportunity I felt and still feel to make the world a better place. And it's a very important thing. Um, we all have different ways we can make the world a better place. I chose Freemasonry. Um, oof. I'm sure that can happen, Gorgum. I'm very sorry to hear that it would. Like I said, I'm not concerned about that here in Canada, anyways. I have no idea. I mean, I think he kept me, so he's fine with it, I guess. I'm sure it was scary, right? I mean, I was born in '83, so he was born in the '50s. At that time, probably disabilities were considered a lot more serious and a lot more scary than they were by the time the '80s and even the '90s rolled around. But I think he was okay with it. Like I said, certainly he didn't treat me any different than he would anybody else or any other child. Well, I think it's illegal to sell organs in Canada, Stephen. So I'm not worried about that for here. Again, in other parts of the world, I might be a little bit more concerned, but um, I'm not concerned about that here in Canada. I guess I take it on faith that our system is pretty good, and I do believe our system is pretty good, to be honest. So, for whatever it's worth. We're going to give it a few more minutes. Then I'm going to be ending this stream because I got to get to the coffee club tomorrow morning. Well, I take vaccines. I mean, when you say faith, I mean, you have to define faith, right? I take vaccines on faith the same way I eat these crackers on faith that they're not going to kill me because I trust the corporation to produce them, right? Like, I want to go to the doctor because I mean, I'm not. I like to think I'm smart enough to understand where I'm not smart and rely on the intelligence of others. It's kind of like me with Freemasonry, right? I try to keep level headed, but I do get frustrated when me, with my 20 years of Masonic experience, will find somebody who's never been a Freemason but looked up stuff on YouTube tell me what Freemasonry is and discount my 20 years of experience. When it's a doctor, they went to medical school, they're a doctor, they have a license. I'm going to trust what they have to say. If I say it's taking on faith, that's fine. It's more recognizing my limitations and then understanding that others may know more than me. Um, Vaccines, doctors, both. Yeah, I trust that they help me and not hurt me. Um, well, I mean, every Freemason is different. Like, one of the biggest misconceptions, Trevor, within Freemasonry is that there's like a single governing body that controls or sets rules for Freemasons around the world. Freemasonry is actually jurisdictional. So Freemasonry in Texas is different than Freemasonry in Ontario. It's different governing bodies, different constitutions, different rituals. Um, Same thing with Freemasonry in Massachusetts, Freemasonry in Russia, Ukraine, Israel, England, Spain, Portugal. Hong Kong. These all have different constitutions and different rituals. However, there does exist what's known as recognition. The reason I can visit a lodge in Texas is because Texas Freemasonry and Ontario Freemasonry recognize one another. And recognition is a whole different topic for a whole different day. Welcome back, nobody. Never met nobody before. Wonderful to have you. There are rituals. There are Masonic rituals. Some will call them Masonic ceremonies. The purpose of them is to create and strengthen the bonds of brotherhood between the membership through shared experiences. Well, I'm not Israeli, but I am a Freemason and I'm a member of a lodge in Israel, Lodge Holy Land number 50 out of Tel Aviv. So the fact that there's a ceasefire, I understand, agreed upon, makes me very happy because I don't want anybody to be hurt, especially my Masonic brethren in Tel Aviv, as well as those suffering in Gaza, right? Or Gaza. I don't want anybody to have to suffer anymore. I think there's been too much suffering. And again, there are my brethren in Gaza or sorry, in Tel Aviv, and I don't want them to be hurt. But there are also Masons in Gaza, aid workers, journalists in some cases. I understand journalists not allowed there, but I think some have made it through. But certainly aid workers, many traveled from the States and other parts of the world to make it there to help the people. So, um, I don't hate Trump. I hate Trump for other reasons. Credit where credit's due. You even have to give the devil his due. Um, Pun maybe intended. To his credit, Trump did get a peace deal in the current conflict in the Middle East, and I think he does deserve credit for that. So maybe even maybe even a Nobel Peace Prize for it. Who knows? There are a lot of things I hate about Donald Trump, but I'll give credit where credit's due. Um, when it comes to Trump, credit for peace potentially. Knock on wood. I don't think we should count our chickens, but peace in the Middle East between Gaza and Israel, I think is a mark in his favor. Operation Warp Speed, I think, is a mark in his favor. Um, Right to Try is a bill he passed in his first term, which I like. And I was also a fan of he passed a bill requiring more clarity in hospital billing practices. So basically, when a hospital gives you a bill, when a hospital gives you a bill at the end of your stay, or gives your insurance company the bill, he signed something into law that said they had to actually, couldn't just give you an amount and say it's $2,000. They had to break down how they came to that amount and what each thing cost. So you could see like a Band-Aid costing $20 or something. Um, I don't know, Stephen. I mean, resolution to the Israeli-Gaza conflict is a pretty big deal, especially if it's something that lasts long-term peace. We don't know what it's going to be. We don't know if it is going to last. There's a lot of things we don't know. But if in 3 years there's a stable ceasefire, who knows? Might be something worth considering. Oh God, the tariffs are terrible. Troops in American cities are terrible. It's a violation of Pause Comitas. Free speech violations. Um, Chilling effect on speech. Going after, using the legal system to go after his political opponents. Joking about a third term, which would cause a constitutional crisis. Um, um, he did the vaccines and then he went back on them um, and started encouraging people not to take them, which was weird. He brought in the worst aspects of conspiracy, January 6th, pardoning the January 6th rioters. There's a lot. And just, you say policy reasons. It matters what somebody says and how they say it, and his cruelty, not just his cruelty, but his seeming enjoyment in the cruelty of what he says, I think is pretty terrible. And a lot of people, fell down these rabbit holes of QAnon and um, just he gave people permission to be the worst versions of themselves. So yeah. Um, Well, they did. They arrested him, and now, he, with his power of the presidency, is arresting them. At least when they arrested him, there was some legit reasons to do so. Um, I don't see any legit reasons for the people he's gone after. Um, I would definitely agree with that either, Theophilus. I mean, if you want to ask me my favorite presidents, we can talk about that if you're interested. My favorite presidents were George Washington. Um, let's see, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, FDR, Harry Truman, um, and Joe Biden would probably be my five most favorite presidents of the United States. Interestingly enough, and LBJ, so that's six. Interestingly enough, George Washington, FDR, Truman, and LBJ were all Freemasons. There's debate as to whether Biden is a Freemason or not. There's debate amongst Masonic circles. I count him as a Freemason. Others would disagree. But yeah. Uh, so it seems that at least some Masonic philosophies influenced some of my favorite presidents. If I had to pick a favorite president of all time, I'd probably pick FDR, to be honest. Although LBJ would be a really close second. Um, I don't know. He's very old, so maybe. But I never saw. He's always seemed to me to be, like I said, I was very impressed with what he managed to accomplish in probably with the exception of the Civil War, one of the worst political climates in American history, and still managing to get the CHIPS Act passed, the Inflation Reduction Act, which did some stuff, not as much as it could have. I would say the CHIPS Act was probably his greatest accomplishment in office, and believe me, that was no joke. Trying to bring back manufacturing of chips. Also, to his credit, people always talk about inflation. Inflation was actually higher in other places than America during that time. I think America was unfairly maligned. The stimulus, which kept the economy afloat, um, a decent vaccine rollout, kind of, which again, Trump gets credit for that as well, but he continued with that. So yeah. Um, no, no, the CHIP Act brought, to my knowledge, the CHIP Act brought a lot of manufacturing back to America. Um, well, that was the Kamala Harris point, right? That child was me. Um, I mean, I think he was wrong, but I'd have to go back and study more about busing because I don't know enough about it to say. Um, but generally speaking, I mean, obviously that's one of the reasons why LBJ is my second favorite president of all time. His Civil Rights Act work, and again, LBJ was a Freemason. How much did Freemasonry affect his views on civil rights? I don't know. I like to think it had some effect. Um, um, People got well, spending that much money did not. Well, it's one of those things where it's like what you're kind of in a rock and a hard place, right? You can either not give out stimulus, however, doing so, you're not going to see inflation, but you're going to see a lot of other problems. I mean, famously, Donald Trump wanted to send out stimulus checks with his name on them, which would have been a horrible abuse of power. That's the other thing I hate about Trump, all the branding he does, where at a certain point, it starts to feel like there is no difference between the government and Donald Trump, which is very scary. I think if you know about history, I think that's what a lot of tyrants try to do in time, right? They try to set, it becomes, there is no daylight between the government and the person in charge, which means instead of, you being loyal to the government or the office, you're loyal to the person, and that becomes very dangerous. Um, Oh, the Civil Rights Act, Trump, 2024. I think the Rights Act was maybe the greatest legislative accomplishment in the history of America. Um, I mean, I smell bad. I'm sure enough the room smells bad. I do need to shave. I'm being lazy, Zach. I'm being lazy. What can I say? Um, Well, I mean, I think the issue with Obamacare was it didn't go far enough. I'm in Canada and I'm a very big fan of our single payer system. I think you need a public option in the States personally. I can say, having grown up missing my legs, and having other medical issues I need to deal with, and having, two parents who've had cancer, my mom passed away from it. Um, the treatment and the treatment they've received, I've always been incredibly impressed by, and the way I've been treated by the healthcare system, I've always been incredibly impressed by. So there you go. It's treated me well. I mean, and I'm not going to say there aren't drawbacks to it as well, but I have to say the Canadian healthcare system has treated me well over the years. And you're not wrong, Dak. Well, welcome, John. Are you new to the system, John Tusher? Please hit like and subscribe. It's interesting. I just rewatched 13 Days, which is a great movie starring Kevin Costner. I forget who played JFK, but I'd recommend that movie, 13 Days, about the Cuban Missile Crisis. Really good movie. Um, Thank you, Hatson. Please hit like and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Paul Travis, please hit like and subscribe as well. Um, People can try to govern themselves. I think Freemasonry would help people govern themselves, but ultimately, I think you do need government of some sort. I mean, I think even the most ardent libertarian would argue for some forms of government. Yes. Well, I mean, probably not. I'm trying to think. The last COVID shot I got was about a year ago, so I'm probably not up to date on boosters. I'll have to deal with that at some point. I mean, I'm not, I believe in vaccines, but it doesn't mean it's kind of like I believe in eating healthy, but I don't always eat healthy. But I try my best for whatever it's worth. Um, I think Biden was better than Trump. I think Biden was far better than Trump. But that's just my opinion. At the end of the day, there's no way to know for sure. Um, I agree. When I say no, at the end, this isn't like two plus two equals four, right? I have my opinion, and John has, or sorry, Trevor has his opinion, and so be it, right? Um, Welcome back, Belt. Um, Trump doesn't always seem to be all there either. So, by the way, everybody who is here, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And also, of the 51 votes I got, 82% of you have said you do not receive emails from Square and Compass Promotions. Sign up via info@squareandcompass.ca, info@squareandcompass.ca, and you'll receive emails from me. I don't think Obama was that involved in it. He seemed to be very much enjoying his retirement at that point. Welcome from India. Thank you for being here. Please hit the like and subscribe button, Sachin. I'd appreciate it very much. We will be ending this stream soon. I'll be back tomorrow 1 p.m. Hope to see you guys then. It'll be a shorter stream. It'll just be approximately an hour because I got a bunch of work to do tomorrow. So, oh, John, none of that stuff. Again, there's a cruelty to that, John. I think sometimes people on the right wing don't see it, but questioning people's sex, sexuality, spreading innuendos, rumors. I wouldn't want people doing that about people I know, and I try to be consistent and treat everybody the same, whether I know them or not, and whether they're in power or not. Um, so you can take that for whatever it's worth or for whatever it means. Um, we're going to give this another. Welcome back, your local Spurs fan. Probably not that many. I would be surprised if there was more than 100,000, to be honest. There's about 850,000 in the States, so you can kind of take that for what it's worth. I will see you later, Gorgon, but thank you again for being here. And to everybody who's been here so far, I truly appreciate it. I hope you're doing well. I hope that you guys will hit that like and subscribe button. I'm going to end this stream. I will be back on 1 p.m. All right, guys. Talk to you later. Thank you so much. Have a good day and bye for now.